Ryder, how's it going, man?
It's all right. How are you?
It's better than the podcast. Where you're like, how are you doing? You're like, shitty.
Yeah, yeah.
That was classic. But another day, man. I think from what I've been seeing, you know, one topic I want to touch on before we get into the AMA is just the MSK and Next stuff that's been happening in New York. It's been quite interesting to watch unfold.
Yeah, I mean, so all of like um that original post that I made, I didn't take that photo. I mean, I don't know if anyone realizes that, but my friend Ryan Keeley did. And actually I don't even know if he took the photo, but he made that Instagram story and then he sent me the Instagram story, and that's what I put on Twitter, and what ended up getting screen capped, and like some NFT influencers who are more respected than me or something. I don't know if you noticed, but someone has a tweet that has like 4,000 likes on it and like 1,000 retweets, or maybe 1,500 or something like that. So it's been making the rounds in pretty big ways. And
Yeah, I guess for those that don't know, what happened was there's NYC NFTs coming up, or I don't know, whatever comes first there. But uh, someone has been stenciling Bored Ape Yacht Club around the city, which traditionally is okay, guerrilla marketing, but they're doing it in a street art fashion with like calligraphy type lettering and like bubble letters, like traditional graffiti type. And someone stenciled over a piece that's been memorialized about someone that passed away that was an MSK, a very big graffiti group, and they stenciled over it. um, you know, it's in that culture. That's kind of like I can't. It's like a hit and run. It's very disrespectful. It's just like shitting on that person's piece. So I did graffiti when I was younger, and got me into doing music. I'm glad that I did it. I learned a lot, but so yeah, I just found that really fascinating, and it seems like they are
yeah,
just digging themselves digger into this like this ditch,
I mean, they
if you
don't
will.
they don't know. People say, "Oh, well, it's not their fault. It's the fault of the agency they hired." But that alone proves that they're capped. That proves that they're toys, because they don't even know who to hire in these streets. You know what I mean? Like I get sent shit because I know people. Like, I'm not saying that in some like threatening weird way. Like, I'm from New York City. I've been involved in art for a long time. I've done street campaigns. I've written graffiti. Like, I know people. You know what I mean? So like, and the people who do wild postings and do stencils and stuff like that, like, there's sort of crews and like people who are in the scene and know about the shit, and then there's people who don't know anything. And the people who did this, whatever collective marketing or whatever their name is, we went on their website. It's like they'll basically do anything for you if you want. They'll print your t-shirt, they'll move your furniture, they'll write your mom a letter. They don't have, it's basically a catch-all business. They don't have real experience in any of this shit. It's something that probably came up in a Google search or something like that. And just that alone proves like the detachment and lack of awareness, and lack of connections, or lack of sensibility on in reality. I would say, if you're writing, if you try to do a stencil campaign, and then beyond that your entire graphic direction is gesturing towards graffiti culture, it's pretty ridiculous to like not know anything about it. You know what I mean? And so yes, it is their fault, and in terms of the hiring decision, and in terms of not knowing anything about this shit before they go into it. And
Yeah.
yeah, so in terms of what I've been posting, which has been from MSK crew, and affiliates and different people buffing over their shit, that's not done from me. That's done from someone else, and then that person has sent it to another person who is sending it to me. But I'm not, they're on their own shit right now. You know what I mean? They're pissed.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
feel dissed.
Yeah.
And and beyond that, they were dissed on a graffiti stance, but I had my friend show them also, like all the Gordon Goner shit and the fucking logo and all this, and they're pissed about that too. So
Cool. I just had to selfishly bring that up before we got into it because I've been seeing that unfold, and with my little bit of knowledge of the graffiti culture, I just knew that this is something, and especially with like art projects being coming up in NFTs so much, like, oh, it's for the art, it's for the art. It's like it's really um, throwing a lot of dirt on a culture, and yeah, just not really appreciating art for what it is. And if they were doing something like maybe not graffiti and stencils, maybe there's like a world where it's like, okay, like whatever, that someone just fucked up. But it's like it's a stencil campaign, like graffiti letters. And so, but yeah, for anyone else, I just wanted to talk about that real quick with you. But the goal of this room and conversation is about Ryder, his project, him as an artist, and specifically for people that have taken the time to listen to our discussion, the podcast. And we like to host this because we don't want that to be a one-way conversation where we're just putting information out there. We want this to be interactive. So, you know, I probably didn't ask all the questions you were thinking. So if you thought of some questions while listening to the podcast and want to ask Ryder, that's the goal of this. So if anyone has, please request, and we'll do this and try to be as organized as possible. But until then, yeah, I just want to kind of keep elaborating on what you're doing, and if you want to set the tone for the room too, Ryder, if you want to introduce yourself and just go, and then we can just get into it.
sure. Yeah. So thanks for doing this space. I listened to the podcast and I realized I say and like way too much. So I'm going to try to work on that in this discussion and be more cognizant of that. I fucked up already. Anyways, yeah, no, my name's Ryder. I am a digital artist, a conceptual artist, and a designer, and a thinker, and a tweeter, and a troll, and all of those things. And I have a commercial practice where I've worked mostly in music, but I've also designed a few products. And I also have my art practice, which is mostly focused on internet culture, I would say, and aspects of the internet that impact society, and exploring that in various forms, whether it's performative, or sculptural, or graphic. Uh, those are pretty much the ways I work. A lot of the work that I do is somewhat performative, and intends to have a story behind it. And the work is not so much like a fixed thing. It's something that is intended to be in flux, and intended to be a provocation that I don't necessarily know the result of. I don't know the outcome. And that's why it's exciting for both me and hopefully the viewer as well. And, I think the world is a stage. And especially now with the internet, it's more interactive than ever, culture. And each one of our participations is increasingly active, or at least it can be. I think in a healthy internet, it is not passive. So yeah, in that regard, that's the way I've been working. I've been working. I'm 35. I've been working since I was like 10. Honestly, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I really have. I learned Photoshop when I was like 10, and I've been making stuff on the computer ever since, in different capacities. I also program. I used to make a lot of websites. I got pretty burnt out on coding and web stuff, just because the technology is changing so rapidly, and the upkeep with these websites gets really tedious when you have hundreds of websites to upkeep, and no one's paying you to upkeep them. So I got more interested in more in forms of, at least for my client work, that were a bit more fixed, like music videos, which I've been doing, and album art, and graphic design, and merch design, and creative direction for shows, which I've done. And yeah, and so
Yeah. If
that's
you
pretty
listen to
much.
the podcast, the list goes on. I mean, there's MIA, Travis Scott, Kanye, and that's something that I learned after um, learning about Ryder, the mint that you just did, and it really just goes to show that you got to dig in and like figure out conceptually what the artist is trying to achieve, and that's why I was so eager to get a long form conversation, because that's what this project needs. It's not something you can sit down in 140 characters explain. But we'll dive more into that. But you don't uh, emoji question. You don't got a name showing up, but brought you up to speak. Yeah, please ask your question.
I don't have any questions. I'm just hyped as fuck. Let's fucking go, Ryder.
Hell yeah.
Fucking send the apes to zero. Send it all to zero.
Fuck yeah. That's the thing though.
Making
Is
millions
I've
in
been
a bear
saying that
market.
since the beginning. People are like, why do you hate everything, and why don't you make your own project? Why do you just focus on other people's stuff? And I said, well, you know what? Unfortunately, this fucking NFT world that we live in right here and the current paradigm of it is a complete scam, and it needs to be fucking deleted and built over from the ground up, because the entire culture behind this thing, the entire mode of operation of this thing is fugazi in many ways, and simply in the way of people not understanding the importance of provenance in art, and understanding how provenance is NFT. NFT is provenance. It literally is nothing else. And just the entire market has basically been propped up by gamblers and by scammers, and I think that a culling is necessary in order to, kind of. I mean, the scammers should still exist, but right now I think it's impossible. And not that I know it's impossible, because I have many peers who are some of the greatest internet artists of all time and have been published in many books, and are respected and have museum shows, etc. And they don't like NFTs, and they don't want to operate in this world because it's fucking garbage. And I don't blame them. But I'm like a soldier, and I'm kind of a crazy person who has these ridiculous ideas, like I'm going to change this, and so that's what I believe in myself and pursue.
So
But it is 100% true that a lot of real artists are turned off by this whole space, and that's why they're not really participating.
Yeah, it's like the whole space is just super self-contradictory, and we just like spew this bullshit of like anti fucking corporation, anti-centralization, let's all get decentralized. And then it's like all the biggest like corporate slaves you'll ever meet that fucking are dripped out in like fucking Nike, Adidas, all the biggest corporations you can know. And it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What
Well,
two,
yeah.
round two.
If you go to Instagram, which I have 10,000 followers there, yeah, that ain't shit. I agree, but this is a common thread. It's like they were far established for 10 to 20, 30 years before NFTs came out, and they feel like they're getting shit on by a bunch of rich boys with a bunch of fucking coin. That's what's happening on it. And nobody likes Instagram. Nobody likes that platform. Maybe there needs to be a different fucking platform. But artists, a lot of real painters, the critics, Jaracel's, a lot of the people are there on Instagram. What do you think about that, Ryder? I mean, like the artists of then versus the past 2 years.
I mean, I don't know if Instagram is necessarily the hotbed of internet art, at least the way I consider it. But yeah, I mean, I'll just say that there are a lot of people who are frustrated by the paradigm that has been presented of NFTs, which is to not privilege the meaning of anything, and to only privilege the ability a thing has to be pumped up by random promoters who no one understands why they promote anything, and they just promote it because they get paid or whatever. And there's no like actual skill involved in a lot of the stuff, and people don't have any real desire, it seems, for understanding the history behind anyone, or understanding the history behind any of these images, and really caring where anything comes from or what it means.
one thing you mentioned was like these influencers just kind of turn into salespeople, at a
Yeah, I
certain
mean,
point.
they didn't turn into salespeople. That's all they've ever been.
True. I put that very kindly. But all right, Uncle Traveling Matt, you got your hand up. What's your question, man?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to, I don't want to derail the conversation. I wanted to just comment on, I saw your post earlier with the water, trying to get the paint off. And I don't know if the narrative has been out there that I didn't realize that was a marketing company. I thought that was just a bunch of guys running around, spray painting stuff. And I don't know much about graffiti. I know you said it's really disrespectful. I'm from the guy who died, so like that sucked. But the one thing that pissed me off was I saw they were spray painting it on the cobblestones, and I thought those cobblestones are like 300 years old, man, 200 years old. Like, why are they doing that? I just thought it was douchey. I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely douchey as
Yeah.
a $10 billion company, and that's propped up by some of the richest people on earth, who live in mansions, and they have the nerve to charge their customers exorbitant amounts for hoodies that are printed on garbage.
But
And
isn't that
it is
douchey?
extremely offensive that they're leaning into a culture that they're not a part of. So I've done street campaigns for instance, Travis Scott, and we've done stencils all over the city, and did it for Pop Smoke, and I've done it for different people. I've worked on street campaigns, and musicians, they might have money, but they're really in communication with communities and with people, and when they make a mark on the street, I think it's warranted and it's allowed. But like, these apes or whatever the fuck that you want to call them making a mark on the street is literally worse, I think, than like if Starbucks was to stencil on the street, because at least Starbucks isn't lying about what they're giving people. They're just like, oh, we make coffee and frappuccinos. Like, this company is saying we make art, and they don't make art. They just don't. Like, literally, it's not art. Like we can have a conversation till no fucking end, but it's commercial. It's commercial illustration at best, and at worst, it's a full on Ponzi scheme scam. So like, no one can have, and the reason it's not art is very clear, is that it was never established as to have an author. It was never established to be under the name of anyone's hand.
It's all commercial art.
It's
all
commercial art. And
it's
so
all commercial art. If you know art, yes, I know now. You really know your fucking art. You're a commercial. You understand what commercial art is. That's what that is.
Yeah. Take some time and listen to the podcast. You'll learn a lot more about that. But I want to go to Slay and then Savvy. What questions do you guys got?
Was that answered though? I feel
you can continue, please.
100%.
I mean, this thing about graffiti on the cobblestones, yeah, sure. I mean, whatever. Like, we could, have ethical arguments of the purpose of graffiti or whatever. But the truth of the matter is this particular context and these particular people, it's completely out of pocket for them to be operating in this way. And every single thing that they're doing is affirming that.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. The only thing, like the cobblestones, whatever, like I said, I'm not.
I mean, it washes. Paint does. All paint on
It does
especially
eventually,
a heavily trafficked street. Within 3 or 4 months, you're never going to see that, even if you have the most industrial paint.
But am I mistaken? But
what?
A street artist name?
Rugged.
Yeah, I got rugged. I'm sorry, but didn't they paint over an established street artist in New York? Like, you do not do that.
Not only an established one, but one who has passed away. And so that's literally and one of the most iconic buildings for graffiti in New York, which is this building on Spring Street.
You do not do that. That's a death sentence.
It's like it's basically like a gravestone. It's like spray painting on a gravestone.
Yeah. And that did happen to the guy that was harassing Banksy back in the day. Remember his name?
It's just like it's so fucking stupid. It's really, and all these apes are trying to defend it, saying like, well, how would they know? It's like, I mean, that that perspective illustrates exactly these types of people's mentality. It's like, well, why should I care about the internet or technology? Like, why do I have to know about art? Like, why does it matter? Like, what? Fuck you, man. Like, I just like these apes. Fuck you. Like, I don't need to know about the art. Like, I don't. Fuck you, bitch. Like,
100 years from now, these spaces are going to be remembered. And I'll tell you what, Ryder, what you're doing is absolutely correct. And you are shaping 100 years from now, you're going to be in the history books. You're doing something.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
I don't own any of your shit, but I'm telling you right now, you're doing something pretty fucking solid.
Don't buy any of it, man. It'll warp your mind and pollute your thoughts. It's corrupt.
I buy funks. That's it.
I fuck with funks, man. I help make not larva labs.
Thank you for that, because I love my PFP.
Yeah, funks are legit.
Yeah, I'm going to step down, but I just want to say thank you very much. The whole point of that wasn't that they were doing it on cobblestone. It was just that I thought it was a bunch of people, just, a bunch of apes trying to do it. I didn't realize until you guys said it that it was, board apes.
Anytime you see posters on the street, anytime you see commercial graffiti, that's not being done by random fans. It's being done by someone who got paid to do it, because there's no random fan who knows the ins and outs of that
and
kind of
never paint over an established street artist shit. Never do that. Everybody, don't do that.
Yeah,
especially one that's
101
away and can't create any more street art.
Yeah,
100%.
and I mean it's such a ridiculous thing. It's like in terms of graffiti, it would be like, like defacing the Capitol building in Washington or something. I mean, it's such a iconic site, this particular building, because it's had so much graffiti on it for years and years and years. I think it's 131 Spring. You got to look up the address, but literally, if you just go into Google and you type in Spring Street, Soho, landmark graffiti, it'll come up. There's tons of articles about this particular building. It's very, very iconic. And that's why Supreme literally chose it as their flagship store. They moved their store, or maybe they just expanded, but they had a store on Lafayette, and they chose this store isn't even far from their other store, and they chose to have another store because it's such a landmark building, and it's such a big statement in street culture. So if you don't know about that, I mean, it's literally like not knowing, the White House or something. Like, it's like it's very fundamental in terms of like the culture, and just like the iconography is very overt. It's not like some esoteric shit.
Yeah, and for those don't know, there that missed the tweet, Ryder, you were able to find the person that helped buff that out, right? The one that was over next.
Sean Bonner found him or knows him or something like that. Like, Sean posted something about this, and then that person, I don't know, stepped up and fixed it, and then I gifted them I don't know who they are though, but I gifted them a RRBAYC.
That's what's up. I love that part of it
for sure.
Yeah, Slay, if you feel like you move good with answering that one, but Slay, I'd love to get your question.
I'm not sure I even have a question, because but I will say, Ryder, I wasn't sure what to expect coming in here, and I am impressed. I like what I hear from you. You sound like a solid guy. You sound like a real artist, and I am really impressed. I honestly had no clue what to expect. And you guys mentioned a podcast. I guess that would be my question. Where do I find that podcast?
Yeah, it's pinned to the top, and yeah, it's definitely he downplays a lot of his work too. I had to dig quite deep to find a lot of it, but I at one point was similar in your boat, just looked at the project at surface level. But we go pretty deep into it in the podcast. But yeah, he's got roots.
Can I ask a question about something that was mentioned in the podcast?
Please, that's what this whole thing's for.
Oh, wonderful. So, Ryder, when you were talking, you mentioned the internet archaeology thing that you did, that you had started this up. is there any way you can go into a little bit more detail as it pertains to people's lack of knowledge about this type of art? Like it's one of these places where I feel like that's gone missing. And that was an attempt to kind of put all that stuff together and show that there were real artists who were shaping that internet art.
I
Can you
mean,
explain what happened to it?
Internet archaeology was basically an archive of GeoCities content, like amateur artists. Basically, that I was seeing, like there's this surf club called Nasty Nets, and there are a bunch of artists, spirit surfers, and a bunch of people who are kind of using the aesthetics of, I would say, late '90s, early 2000s internet in a way that was sort of tongue in cheek, but also that those graphics had an innocence and rawness. I think that was attractive to many artists of my generation, and so internet archaeology was an attempt to archive that stuff. Not the artists' work, but these, I would say, amateur artists. I mean, I guess they are artists, but they wouldn't have considered themselves artists. People who made GeoCities websites, and a lot of these people, why I thought it was really cool was that it was like amateur graphics, and like at a time when all of these graphics tools were new, and so you ended up with like aesthetics that were very new and completely divorced of references from the past. And so in a sense, they were like very alien and extremely fresh. That's why I think a lot of artists were inspired by the aesthetics, but also the attitude of the aesthetics in that time, which was very free, liberating, and weird. I would say that time on the internet was a really great time, and a lot of artists who were working in 2007 and 8 and 9 were really inspired by thinking about those times that we had when we were like 10, I think. And most of the people I'm talking about are like peers of mine who are probably around the age of like 33 right now to 40. So that's pretty much like the time bracket I'm talking about. And look into Nasty Nets, for instance, if you want to see like these, the collective of artists that I would say were inspired by this kind of stuff. But there are a lot more. I mean, one of the most famous ones is Corey Archangel, and you can look up his work. He was probably the most, and probably one of the only like actually commercially successful artists from net art at that time, at least. Who he had gallery shows and sold work, and a lot of us just made shit on the internet for fun and didn't have any gallery representation or anything like that, and it wasn't really about that.
Well, so in the podcast you said, well, after the podcast I tweeted out about it, and you said I'm looking for help on that. What is the actual problem? Is it that the site no longer exists?
I have to, basically, just like some link rot and like like I have an archive of that, and I just need to host it again and probably fix a bunch of links. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like tedious shit that I don't really feel like doing. And so there's a bunch of stuff that I'm actually looking for. If there's someone in the audience, like I'm looking for a full-time kind of like assistant type of person. I've had people in the past, but it's hard to find people who you jive with and you want to hang out with all the time. But I need some help in terms of things like that, like tedious tasks. Like there's just so much web stuff that I've done that is broken now, that I would love to put up again. But it's just to do that would be derailing what I'm interested in right now for months. And I don't really feel like spending 3 months like thinking about the past. Like whenever I would talk to Ye actually about the past, he would be like, I don't fucking care about like what like Yeezy, like Yeezus era shit. Like I don't care about what I was wearing, because I would always like bring up different things. It's just like, oh, I don't want to think about that. Like that's done. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff just gets like thrown into some storage bin, and like no one, it's like if you're an actively creative person, you want to keep moving. You know what I mean? And so I just bring that up because I remember I think about that now because I remember trying to push him in some way to do different projects using, for instance, in Chicago, we came back to Chicago and we're doing this, office there, and I said, oh, you should bring back the, college dropout bear, and that bear costume, which is so iconic, and like have these bears around the city or something like that. And he got like he kind of upset about that idea, not because like he's just like, I don't want to think about the past, like it's about the future, like I'm not gonna, like I'm not an old man, like like I still have new shit, you know what I mean? I just think about that because it's like I have that same feeling now when I think about the past. I'm like, I don't even care, like I just want to do the new thing. That's why like my website doesn't work and shit like that, because it's like I just don't even, I'm like too involved in the present to even think about it. I'm like, well, I'll make sense of it when I literally have nothing else going on and I can't think of anything else to do. And then I'll try to make sense of it, or I'll hire someone to make sense of it for me, if I trust that person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Before we go to Savvy, I want to ask you, working with Kanye, what was like your biggest takeaway, and just what were some things that were just like so outlandish that you're like, holy shit? And those moments were like, yeah, I'm working with Kanye. Like, that's some crazy shit that no one would do.
Yeah, I don't feel like answering that right now.
Yep, sounds good. Sounds good. Savvy.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a great evening. Hi, Ryder.
Hey,
How are you?
good.
You know, I've been supporting you since the very first post, and it fills my heart with love to see all that you've done and all you've accomplished in such a short period of time. But I have a couple questions. My first question is, it's interesting that the only place you really hear this conversation taking place is in those rooms of those that follow you, right? Or that we all gather together in certain spaces. Other rooms, it's still not being spoken to. I've actually gone into other rooms and brought up the question, and it's completely ignored, and the subject is changed. And then I saw that you're going to be going to New York. And I'm curious, you made the statement that you want to change the space as it is, right? So it's already starting to change. Like people are starting to become aware. So when you go to New York, like do you have like a set goal that you want to accomplish while you're there? And are you at all concerned, as everybody's been saying, this is the wild, wild west. And some of these rooms, there's lots of threats and people are going to, do whatever to each other. Does that concern you at all, that there might be some type of disruption that goes on because of this has become such a controversial topic among so many?
I mean, I tweeted today, I hope that Yuga has their insurance policy in order, I hope for their own sake, because if something happens to me, oof, I don't know. It's not good. And I'm not going to fight back, because I'm trying to get rich over here, so I'm not going to do anything stupid, but, if someone wants to come at me, it only amplifies, my voice. And if they want to come at me, at Ape Fest, that's great because I have a feeling they probably don't have great insurance and security, and who knows what's going to happen there. But there'll be cameras and all sorts of shit. I don't think any of these Twitter finger people have it in them, but I welcome it. And let's see. I'm definitely not gonna. I'm gonna leave my seed phrase at home and delete all my private keys from my phone and all that kind of shit. So you're not going to find me with any of my wallet stuff around New York. And then to answer your other question about my goals of New York, my goals in New York is to hang out with my dad and my little brother. Like I don't really give a fuck about any of this other shit. Like I have some desire to like go to some of these events and like hang out with a few people. But I'm going to New York to stay with my dad and hang out with my brother. And NFT New York is cool, whatever. There's people I know who are speaking and doing things, and it's fine. Like I hope to engage with some people. The one thing I do want to do would be a live minting event where I can give people deep discounts on apes and get physical copies made for people in person. And I think that would be a really cool event. And I might do that at my friend's sake bar in the East Village. I haven't talked to her about it, but I could call her up. She owns a bar, and maybe we'll do it there. I don't know.
So do you plan on, like, you have a website, do you plan on like posting anything so that those that are following you or those that would like to connect with you in person would be able to actually do that, to know where you're at? And I imagine you won't be alone anyways, right? You have
No,
so many
I don't
friends
plan
and people.
on posting where I'm gonna be.
So it'll just no, I mean, like, for that minting. Like, it'll
Oh yeah,
just be
yeah.
like
If there's an event,
spontaneous.
I'll tweet about it like the day before or something, or
Right.
I kind of also like things being
Spontaneous.
I think like the serendipity of the world and like the randomness is like the X factor, and like I'm a believer in God and stuff like that. So, I don't really worry too much about things like if
I agree
things
with
are
you.
meant
I
to
feel the
be,
same
like
way.
it's meant to be, and it'll happen. And I've done huge events for I did main stage at Coachella, and I put that together, and I've done get-togethers with 5 people, and both have been fun, So it's not a matter of if there's a purpose to do a huge event and the stars are aligned to do it, I would like to do it, but I'm also not pressing it because I think especially within I kind of think a lot of these internet IRL events are very forced. Like, let's get some random person. Like, who the fuck knows? Like, why is Method Man playing the fucking block party on the Intrepid? And Madonna.
That's fucking hilarious.
Like, why? Like, what? Like, let's talk about it. Like, where? Like, I have no problem with Method Man, but what does it have to do? Like, how? Like, it's just random.
The correlation,
dude. That's like what I've been telling people today. Where it's like, dude, if you guys want to be all inclusive and have an NFT event, you need to have the correct things that
they have Madonna and Method Man playing at the same event.
Yeah, what does that even mean? As an
it's
event,
weird.
What the fuck?
No, they're just trying to get. They're like, let's get famous people. All this shit is like who has?
And then it's two opposite sides of the spectrum. Let's get that crowd, and then we get Madonna.
So speaking to that, then you made the statement. You said that the space is full of whatever we want to call it, and that it needs to be changed and reset. So what does that look like to you?
It looks like being a teenager and actually caring about stuff. It looks like going to a show because you like the music. It looks like saying hello to someone because you like the way they look, and having conversations because you like talking about certain things. It looks like getting involved in things because you're actually interested in them, not just because some random person told you could get rich by getting involved in this. It looks like actually being passionate about something. It looks like actually being a real art collector. It looks like actually becoming a patron of creativity and realizing that once you are a patron of culture, that will bolster your investment, and that will, for the collectors who are here, that will actually make you richer. That is the gateway to your success, is figuring out how to prop up culture and being a part of something that is going to last for more than a week, because there's very few people who can actually day trade. Day trading is this goes for NFT short, like selling NFTs and just quick flips, or it goes for trying to work the stock market. It's very, very difficult to do, and people try it all the time. Most people fail. There are some people who win, but by and large, they fail. And so if you're in here and you're already spending hours a day in Twitter spaces and tweeting and engaging with people and looking at art, you should just go the next step and start engaging with meaning, and start engaging with history, and start engaging with the context of the art, and start thinking about the actual artist behind it. It's really not that deep, So that's all it really is. That's what it looks like, And it's of course, someone's going to say, oh, well, there's plenty of artists who are really great making stuff. Yes, there are. I totally know that. And there are plenty of people doing one-of-ones on Foundation or Zora or whatever else. But the point is they're not valued in like a real meaningful way in this space. They're not being broadcasted. They're not, those ideas aren't being talked about in these like influencer spaces. And nor is there like a desire to really collect them, because like this whole 10K mechanic is the most pervasive thing here, and it's really a powerful mechanic and a really useful one, and that's why I've adopted it for for RRBAYC, because it's an extremely effective method for disseminating a concept.
Well, I support you 100%, and it's nice to hear the noise is kind of dissipating and the conversations are changing in the spaces and they're actual conversations. And I really appreciate this space, and I really appreciated listening to you last night as well.
Thank you, Savvy.
Yeah, it was a
Are you
big
on to New York?
Well, Tag and I are doing stuff together, and she's going, so I'm not actually 100% sure. So if I do go, it will be like very last minute. But she wants to do something with you in New York, but you already know that, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
unclear on what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll talk later. But thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you,
Thank you,
Ryder,
Savvy.
again. You know how much I love you and how much I support you, and I look forward to the future and to doing it together, because I'm right there alongside every single one of you.
Thanks. That's sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, that was. Andy, you've been waiting for the question.
Yeah, man.
To hear it.
I love the podcast the other day. It was dope, and I really enjoy getting to hear a little more about Alone Together. I remember seeing the show back in New York. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
2015, I think, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I actually like kind of felt like a kook. I had no idea that I like never drew the line between you and that show, and then I was listening last night and kind of was like mind fucked. But super stoked, man. I just I really appreciate the statement and the recontextualizing it in a way that can actually like shed light on something so heinous is actually like a really powerful way of displaying how art can make such a big impact. And I was just kind of curious if I don't know if I feel like I've followed a lot of your stuff, and there's like a kind of a horizon to it, and I was curious because this has almost like that feeling of waiting for the other shoe to drop always. If you had I don't think an exit strategy for this particular piece, or if this is something that there's still more that you feel like you want to do with this art piece, or is it kind of it's already done the thing you want it to do?
I mean, no, I think it's like an active project, and why I love NFT and 10K projects is like you're now part of it. Like, I mean that, like,
for sure.
It's up to, that's why I made a tweet the other day that was like, I don't believe in charging royalties for sales, because I think that so in the traditional art world, a gallery will take half of the money. So if you sell a painting for 10 grand, you get 5 grand, and the gallery gets 5 grand. And in this space, there isn't a gallery. So you're the gallery, especially when you consider decentralization, because OpenSea isn't even the gallery because there's a million other marketplaces. And there's all these different methods of buying something. So in that sense, every single owner is a gallerist, right? And so the idea of people collectively coming together to bolster an artist and their ideas, I think, is something that should be rewarded. And I think people doing that, I think that incentivizing collectors in a way that is meaningful, that respects them and their contribution to the proliferation of an artist's work and ideas, and inspiring them in some way to basically realize that, oh, they can take it upon themselves to spread this art, and by spreading this art, they will increase their investment. And just that action alone is something that I, as an artist, respect, and I think is just as important as the inception of the idea itself. Because if you just create an idea in a vacuum and no one shares it, what does it even matter, right? So it's a kind of a double task on both parties. It's a symbiotic relationship. So yeah, I think I don't really. Does that answer? I don't know if that.
Yeah, man. No, that's
So basically, I guess in saying that is one of the things that it really attracts me to NFT. That is something that I was sort of fatigued by with web and digital art in general before NFT, was like what I was touching on before with the Internet Archaeology site that isn't up anymore. And I have a lot of artworks that aren't up anymore, is that the server upkeep of all this stuff, and not only the server upkeep, but keeping the passing, like just maintaining the interest in something is all on the part of me, right? Like I have to maintain the server, I have to maintain the attention, I have to keep tweeting about it. It's like all of these things are very like dependent on me. And it's like with NFT, it becomes more of a distributed sort of action. I mean, literally, that's what the blockchain is, right? It's a distributed ledger. So I think literally it's more distributed, and metaphorically as well.
Yeah, I think you alluded to it well in the podcast. Like you kind of framed it as like an army of educators, because you saw this issue, and then when people become, the 10K PFP situation does build, this word that gets used a lot, but community. Everyone has incentive to distribute this meaning, and yeah, I think the army of educators, the way that you framed that, was really strong, and it stuck with me for sure.
Yeah, that's a tweet I wrote early in this project. I wrote RRBAYC. Its goal is to create an army of educators.
And you're doing that. I think the conversation has started. It's led to, rooms like this where people are getting past the conceptual part, the copy paste, and starting to ask the bigger questions. So
for sure.
Cool. 13th. You got a question?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thanks to Ryder for kind of like enlightening me overall on like conceptual art and everything. And it made me realize that art is not just about the visual, and a lot of it is about triggering the conversation. And that is actually where the real art lies. I think that's the very, very interesting part. Thanks for helping me realize that.
Sure. I think it's kind of crazy that people don't think about that or consider it. I don't know why, because it'd be like watching a movie that is about nothing. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of important in terms of what, like, if you don't understand that aspect of art, I feel like you're not really liking art. You're like pretending you like art. Like once you understand the stories behind this shit, it's like watching a movie or something. It's way more entertaining, and it's like actually interesting. Like a lot of people don't get engaged, and so they just understand art on a very surface level, and they want to pretend to like it. I think a lot of people just pretend to like art because they want to look smart or something like that. And art has that ability to, allow people to chin scratch and like you can kind of show off that it's like putting books on a bookshelf that you're not going to read or something, So, but you're not really appreciating art, which is not like, I'm not saying that in a snobby sense. I just think that you're missing out on like the actual entertaining like pithy aspects of art. And it's not just conceptual art. A lot of art has stories. I think any good art really should tell some kind of story and have a subtext, and whether it's it's probably both the artist and the work itself.
I guess maybe I came from a position where there was one time I was just walking across like a small gallery, and there's like this artist that basically uses scribbles, and I just couldn't understand it. I really didn't understand, so I was talking to people about it, trying to understand it. But now I guess even in that question itself, it is kind of what inspires that art.
The Cy Twombly, maybe you're talking about?
It probably wasn't. It was some Malaysian probably trying something, but yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
you
a
asked
lot
a
of
question about
artists don't know too. Like they're not good artists. Like there are a lot of people who don't know what the fuck they're making, and they can't explain it, and they don't really have a reason. And like there's a place for that too. It's just decorative art, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. There's flowers are beautiful, and you don't really have to over intellectualize why flowers are beautiful, but they're beautiful, and we can put them in a vase and admire them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if we're considering like why something matters and in a larger sense of like a human the canon, if you will, people use that term. It's kind of, I never understood it, but the canon of culture, uh these things aren't significant.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to that subtext again and the
Yes.
inspiration behind it.
Yeah.
I'm
That's it.
digging your new icon, Omakase. I like that anti-psyop.
Yeah.
Club.
Just about to say what's up, Omakase. Welcome. For those that don't know, this man.
Yeah, what up?
Hey guys, I was just writing a tweet because I was just what Ryder was saying, it like about watching a movie about nothing and stuff like that. It got me thinking on this idea of like, okay, who does anyone want to join my club? The only requirement to join my club, you don't have to have any specific interests or talents or anything like that, and like we don't have any like specific type of music or culture that we represent. The only thing that you need to do is pay a certain amount of money, and that's not even any like fixed amount of money that you have to pay. It just like fluctuates based on the market from day to day, kind of based on how people are feeling and like which people have like a bunch of memberships like hoarded and decide they need to like sell some of their extra memberships. So it's not even like really one membership per person. Like, does anyone want to join my club?
I hope you guys are recording the space. I'll join.
That is the NFT market in a nutshell right now. And
Does anyone want to join my club? There's going to be really cool people in there.
but the floor price is dropping. I don't really like that culture. That's basically
dude.
what it is.
It's okay, bro. Like, we'll do what we call floor maintenance techniques, and that involves our Discord getting hacked and our Instagram, our Discord and Instagram.
The best is we'll run Instagram ads against the NFT, and then more people will buy it, and we'll have some people sweep our own floor.
So look, I guess that's all I'm saying is that like this is what you're being invited to participate in on a large scale when it comes to like these things. They're like, oh, be a member of this club, but it's like, okay, well, like, what do I have to do to gain membership? Like, to be a member of Mensa, like you have to have a high IQ. To like be a member of like the Soho House, you have to like be an artist or like a creative and like be in the creative or arts industry. Like, okay, so like what exactly, and by the way, like
to be a member of a country club, you got to be white and old.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
No, I think it's a good question. I mean, it raises the question as to whether or not we should have like things like invite only NFT collections, right? Where it's really an exclusive club.
That's what RRBAYC is, because it's invite only, no retards. Like pew, 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 pew. Like like if you make something challenging enough and you make it controversial enough, that you'll call out all of the people who are stupid. And like that's what this website I made, Dump FM, in 2009 was too. Like it kind of had a barrier to entry in terms of like how to use it even and stuff like that. Like because of that, we created a really like active community of really apt internet artists. And yeah, I mean, I think that you can have a natural sort of barrier to entry that can cull people and sort of weed people out until the thing blows up. Like the second RRBAYC gets adopted by a celebrity or by the movie gets made or something like that, the entire world is going to want it. And it's the same with music too, right? Like music is a club that's like self-governing. It's like in the beginning, especially with like small bands, you just like them because you like the music. They have something to say. You like the lyrics. You like the style, like whatever it is, And it doesn't have to be, that's the other thing is like I actually wrote a tweet to like Randy Zuckerberg. She was talking about like, well, we don't need white lists, like this racist and whatever. I mean, that may or may not be racist. I'm not sure, but she's just incredibly cringe in every single video she makes. But that's neither here nor there. My point is I wrote, how about no lists? Like, how about just like lists are creepy? Like Omakase is right. Like, in terms of club building and like the nature of gatekeeping, but like a real cultural club shouldn't have a list. Like the Soho House is corny. Like golf clubs are corny. You know what I mean? Like
Soho House is so corny, bro.
Right.
It's the dude. Soho House has the biggest LARPers hanging out there, bro. Like
of
that
course.
is the Soho House
almost,
market
and
for
every
LARPers.
club.
Dude.
Every club is corny. Like Skull and Crossbones is corny. Like it's all corny. It's like what's actually cool is people coming together and finding each other based on niche interest,
Bro. Agreed.
And I think that's what music can still attest to is like when you go to a show, everyone there, the crowd and you can even look at like mosh pits, right, to an extreme of people just like getting along. They all come from different walks of life, but they have this thing in common, and a conversation starts from there. And I think trying to adapt that, you can't push that onto someone. You can't be like, "Hey, man, listen to this album and love it." That's just not how it works.
I think BG Yeager, he quoted Groucho Marx on one of my tweet threads just recently. He says, Groucho Marx said, "I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member." Pretty much sums up my feelings.
Famous. I think that's a Woody Allen quote, though. No,
I think Groucho Marx would have said it first, and then Woody would have quoted him, dude.
Yeah.
Then Michael Scott.
It's true.
But James, you had your hand up. What's up, man?
Hey, I just want to ask Ryder if he seriously consider creating merch for the project, and if he does, that would be like one of the most exciting part of the merch that I actually would want to wear. And I've thought about it since. We can't copy NFT, but what if we start to sell T-shirt with RRBAYC? Can we
go
do
for
that
it, bro?
with the image?
Go for it. Sell them. I'm making. I'm actually. It's funny you say that because today I called the McLugan. I think it's called McLugan in LA, which does screen printing stuff. Because I actually have screen printing equipment at my ranch, and I just need to get a screen burned. I want to get the screen of the crying face with the ape mask on, and then get like a small RRBAYC text, and because I don't want to do T-shirts. I don't know why. I'm just not vibing with T-shirts right now. So I want to do hand screen printing over like strange things, like like button-down shirts and
Yeah,
sweaters.
T-shirts are a little bit bland right now.
I'm not vibing with it. We got to do something a little bit more
like
renegade.
I agree with you.
Make
I was
capes,
thinking
Ryder.
like oversized sweatshirts and oversized like button ups, like that would look good with like.
I just think they
layers
should
in.
all be unique. Like every single shirt should be like a different thing. Like I think that'd be cool. It's like one of ones or something. And yeah. And I like screen printing by hand, and it's like all a little off and fucked up. It just makes it a little bit more raw.
Dude, you could even ball out and like, because you know how you did the thing where like you hand minted, so there's like a personal touch. You could even, if you wanted, do like embroidery on some certain select ones.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I mean, it's all just like cost stuff. It's like the screen print thing and like vintage clothing is easy.
Yeah.
And I don't have an embroidery machine, but I also like to kind of do everything myself sometimes. Like,
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Just like for fun, just fucking
for
around.
sure,
And, like
for sure.
people get it. Like you know
Or I
me.
could do
I'll
a
wear all
stamp,
that shit. Yeah, I'll wear
of
all that
your
shit, and then
unique
I'll just be
number.
like, bro, it's so funny that Ryder just stitched this together. Like like just
For
that
sure.
kind of vibe.
No, that'd be sick. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I would love to do high end stuff. I want to do like a whole show of paintings, of these apes. Just have them painted pretty, like probably like 5 by 5 feet. And just do a show of maybe all Prussian.
Oh, shut up!
helmets.
Like a freaking RR gallery kind of thing.
So
Yeah, I mean they would just they'd be the same but painted and
So
like.
Ryder, when you get there, I would love to help you. Because
I mean, I'm already there.
But when you're really there,
yeah,
like I would love to do something with you. Anything I can do to support you, I'm here. Yeah, my brain is already going ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
ding.
Savvy, come help.
Hi, Rax. Okay, I'm going to jump down because I'm sure there's a bunch of people trying to get up. Thanks so much for your time, and I will be listening. Have a great time in New York, Ryder, if I don't speak with you before you go.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
That's Savvy. But yeah, I was also, dude. Yeah, if you ever need like obviously anything audio and shit, dude, I'll just bring the whole mob of like very well cultured DJs and shit like that. But like, yeah, dude, I think if you do like a cool gallery and stuff, like I think that'd be dope, bro. Like literally have like the actual like RRs like on there, and just like have people geek out like this is original BAYC. This is art. I just think that'd be smart, bro. It'd just be a cool thing to do.
For sure.
Oh, JJ, how's it going, man? You got a question?
Yeah, the state of art today between NFTs and the art world, say at the Met. Let's go. I want to hear some answers. Anybody?
I don't really understand the question.
Yeah, can you repeat that? I don't think I feel like that
use
was
it in a sentence.
So I mean, like,
I feel like that was a command, not a question.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Well,
And just in terms of like how the English language works, like if I were to just parse
maybe
that,
I've been reading too many.
I feel like it was a command and not a question, and so my brain just instantly like rejected it. It just came through like static.
I've been reading too many Spotty's tweets,
bro.
I've been reading too many Spotty's tweets. Like, give me an answer. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah,
yeah. Artists don't do well to commands unless they know beforehand that it's going to be a command.
Well,
that's like
we'll give it one more shot, and then what was the question?
In these days, how can you guys compromise NFTs to modern art? Like, how is this all going to go from here into the future? Because I mean, yes, there is some really good art, but there are 10,000 PFPs that are junk. 100 years from now, a lot of this stuff is going to be irrelevant. I'm just wondering what you guys think is going to be relevant as an art in the art world.
Okay, I just want to, because you said modern art, so like maybe it's just the autist in me, but I just want to pause for a second and just explain, since we're all here to learn more about art, is that modern art is an art period, has a very specific definition that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. Modern art includes artistic work produced during the period extending roughly from the 1860s to the 1970s, and denotes the style and philosophies of the art produced during that era. The term is usually associated with art in which the traditions of the past have been thrown aside in the spirit of experimentation, which includes the entire Impressionist period. So when we discuss modern art, that's what we're really discussing. So I don't think that modern art and NFTs really have anything to do with each other.
You just nailed it. You just nailed my question right on. Thank you very much. Because I think there's a bunch of people underneath here that don't understand that. And you absolutely just answered my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you one thing that's for
Word
sure is the PFPs will affect the psyche of the world in the simple sense that, like, when I look at your PFP and I hear you speak, I'm imagining that, like, strange creature speaking, and and that's now embedded in my head forever. And I somehow am going to internalize that, and it's going to affect my decisions moving forward.
Chomp,
So
chomp, patooey, chomp, 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 patooey, chomp.
exactly that
Oh,
kind of
now we're
shit.
LARPing. Wow. I'm glad that Google definition answered the question, but that was perfect.
can
Thank
I
you.
just say that the tea that I ordered, the boba tea I ordered, they forgot to include the straw.
Dude, I thought you were gonna say they forgot the boba. I was gonna be like, oh
no, they just forgot the straw, dude. This is some real shit.
I hate it when they give you like the small straw and it's clear
Okay, we're not
large
actually going
boba.
off topic, dude.
We're going back to command.
It was a
Back to
commentary on
commands.
LARPing, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so back to the AMA. Does anyone else have a question?
Yes, please. Let's get back to the AMA.
Well, I think what JJ was trying to refer to it's contemporary art.
I think JJ's question honestly is like just so vague. It's like, yeah, I mean, most art doesn't matter. That goes for any art. Like to be honest with you, there's millions of people drawing in their notebook right now as we speak, all around the world. And like, does anyone care about their drawings? Like, we could just have this conversation about anything, obviously. The truth of the matter is NFTs aren't art. Most of them aren't even art. They're like much more along the lines of a security and a financial instrument than they are art, because they don't even have an artist attached. So how the fuck are you going to remember something if it doesn't even have an artist attached?
Bro, how the fuck is it art if there isn't a fucking artist? Like,
exactly. So there's that simple fact. And then there's the fact that the community actually doesn't care about art. They don't care about art history. They don't care about culture. They don't care about continuing anything. They care about selling something right now and being able to, maximize their profit. And that's about it. And that doesn't seem like the kind of community that's going to carry any torch.
And that's the problem. This is
duh. That's why this project that I'm doing exists. That's literally it's a direct response to all of those issues.
I have one interesting idea, right?
Can we hold on, Alex? Can we go to 0x puffofsmoke.eth? They've got their hand up.
Yeah, DGen T, I believe.
Yo, what up, DGens? I'm DGen Tom Selleck. Nice to meet you guys. What's up? Thanks for bringing me up. Appreciate it.
What's your question, man?
Yeah, I had a question in regards to Ryder Rip Apes in general. Like, I get what you're doing. I know that it's like about the smart contract in regards to art itself, but like, I'm not trying to like, troll it or whatever, but isn't it like in a sense kind of influencing and allowing for possible scams? Because somebody coming into like the space, buying a Ryder Rip Ape, thinking it's a BAYC, not knowing, and then they're, kind of feel scammed. Isn't it like influencing that and like kind of pushing that? Like, isn't that something we would like to stop?
Did that happen to you?
Well, it totally happened to me, but like, I'm just asking, like,
it did. You bought an RRBAYC and you thought it was a BAYC?
No, it happened in like another project and it ended up being like a fake collection or whatever. But like, I'm just saying, like, the normal person coming in, wouldn't they think it's a BAYC? I know when I see it, I think it's a BAYC unless I click on the hex.
Right. But where you would purchase this thing, whether it's OpenSea or on Foundation or soon Ape Market, which is the newest provocation that we're creating. We're creating our own marketplace for all of Yuga products and charging 0% fees. But all of these points of contact where you would buy this thing state that it's very clear that what it is, and they have the link to rrbayc.com and they say buy Ryder Rips, and it's extremely clear. And if you're getting fooled and you don't understand what you're buying, then it's not my problem. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if you don't know that you shouldn't drive drunk, it's not the problem of the law not telling you, it's your problem. Like it's you have to educate yourself, you know, and in some regards, if you're going to operate as an adult in this world, and use these tools of imaginary internet money, you're going to have to do some research. Yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Can I just add something to that, Ryder? Which is that, like, if you come to participate in the blockchain ecosystem, right? You come to operate in crypto world. Okay, let me explain something to you. You control your keys. You control your destiny. If you don't learn how to use a block explorer and do your research and check what tokens and contracts you're interacting with, which the contracts are immutable and the tokens are non-fungible, then sorry, but the question is actually, I feel, rhetorical and a non sequitur. I feel it's highly rhetorical and a total non sequitur because it's basically antithetical to the actual core functionality of the very technology with which we're concerned.
What my boy Omakase is trying to say basically is, what part of non-fungible do you not understand?
Dude, that was my favorite ever. But yeah, it's non-fungible, guys.
20
No, I get that, but like, you know, what about
20
the fact of the
push-ups,
credibility of the
motherfuckers,
apes,
that
right? Like,
don't
doesn't it
understand.
take that away?
20 push-ups.
Wait, hold on. Did you say,
Wait,
bro?
the NFT is not the image, guys. Come on.
No,
It's
hold
not.
on.
But like when the image brings credibility to like somebody instantly, isn't that an issue? Like it's almost like having like a fake degree and running forward.
Brings credibility.
Dude,
What do you
what
mean
does that mean?
image brings credibility, bro?
Dude.
I'm
Like,
just
what
saying,
are
right?
you,
But,
like,
like,
bro?
well, let's be real, right? The space is the space, and the apes are normally like the some of the most respected like people, right?
All right, everyone. We all got pretty excited. We got a question. Let's try to answer it one at a time and keep this a learning space. I feel like this man's trying to learn. But yeah, who wants to tackle this one? One person, please.
First, let's hear from because I didn't fully get Deegan's or whatever you say. What's this guy's name? Tom Selleck's his point. I just want to hear it. Yo, Tom.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So
like, what I was trying to say is, you know, Bored Apes, like it's a great project. In my opinion, and probably like other people's, right? It gives like potentially credibility being in the space and like having one, especially somebody that like got it early on, right? And if you don't have a hex and you're holding a Ryder Rip Ape and you're just somebody that has no idea, like just because the fact you didn't buy it on OS or someplace else, and that's what designates as a Ryder Rip Ape. You know, what if like somebody's using that in a way to like give them credibility and without like a hex? I guess they could do that with in general, right? But I just is that not an issue for you guys?
Why do my apes not have the same credibility or more credibility than the Bored Apes?
It's not that they don't. I'm just saying because the fact they've just been around longer and the people that are holding the Bored Apes have been, you know, up and down with the motions of the actual market itself, and have kind of created that form of I don't know, I guess respect to hold in a sense for a project and being one of the better projects out there, if not the best, right? Unless I'm mistaken thinking like that.
Yeah, so your point is that it's debasing on a way. It's you're kind of decrediting someone who has earned something. It would be your point. Let me just get this straight. I just want to understand your point. It would be like as if you're like if someone is a 5-star general in the military and then someone wears a military jacket that has a 5-star general symbol and looks like
I guess like that's
hey Ryder, can I take this one by just doing a playback of something I said earlier?
Sure.
Okay, guys, so does anyone want to join my club? There's no requirements for membership. You just had to be there when I first started it or pay a certain amount of money to join. And there's no there's zero requirement. You don't need to have any level of knowledge on blockchain or be in any specific profession or have any type of degree or business acumen or anything like that. but like if you join my club, it's going to make you really, really credible on the internet. Who wants to join? So like this is the point, bro. It's like you're saying like, oh, Bored Apes have credibility. Like what credibility, bro? Like, what are you talking about? Like there's nothing that defines a Bored Ape. There's
You're
no
right.
definition of like what the human being behind a Bored Ape PFP is like. There is no common consensus or requirements or anything like that. Like the only requirement was that like the max requirement is that like you had 0.08 ETH last year and you were on Clubhouse LARPing in crypto rooms, which is like basically like I was there, bro. Like a lot of people, like I've told people this before, like one day I may dox some of my alts and then I'll show you guys the DMs from the Bored Apes founders trying to give me Bored Apes so that I would shill them in my Clubhouse rooms. And I declined back
Also,
then.
unfortunately, whether it's a case of a general or whether it's the case of someone having a freaking cartoon as their icon on Twitter, like respect in the real world is not achieved through an outfit. It's not achieved through an icon. It's much deeper than that. And if you understand history and you understand subtext and you understand meaning behind things, you would know that someone wearing a general outfit that's just that is a U.S. Army, a real U.S. Army general outfit, and is not a real general, like that person doesn't command respect, and the army would not give a fuck about them, and they would not see them as a threat because there's nothing to be threatened by, because that's not what creates a general. Is not just wearing a fucking jacket.
You're
Yeah.
right, but it's
And
not
to
the
add to that,
army
if we're
like, that you're
talking
having
about
an issue with. It's
credibility and
Can I just say, Tom, when you say you're right, but that's just like that's yeah, that's
no, I get
what
what
it is.
like no. I'm just trying to say like in regards to the army not giving a shit. Sure, but that's not what I'm referring to. Like BAYC probably doesn't care. Maybe they do. Like, but that's obviously they know that the Ryder apes are not BAYC apes. It's the people coming into Web3 that I'm talking about. Like that.
No, but they're better. The people coming into Web3, I hope they see the Ryder Rips apes and understand them and understand that they're actually way better than Bored Apes, and I can substantiate that in objective ways.
But how?
Well,
how
because they have meaning, because they have respect for the blockchain, because they come from a place of tenacity. They have an actual purpose. There's a community with passion.
They have actual provenance.
They have provenance.
Actual provenance.
Yep. I have a background in internet art. I'm an established internet artist. It's not commercial art. It's not VC capital. If you're actually interested in art, I mean, at the same time, maybe you're not interested in art. Maybe you just want something because Gwyneth Paltrow told you to buy it, in which case, the RRBAYCs are not for you.
I get that. So you're saying like your community then is basically whoever would know that this would be an RR ape in the first place.
I think everyone. I mean, there might be a few really dumb people, but anyone who's going to spend $200 on something is gonna like know that what they're buying a little. Like I really think it'd be difficult to find someone who bought an RRBAYC thinking it's a BAYC. I don't think you'll find that person. If you do, please bring them up on the space. Let's talk to them.
I honestly, I would just like to say this, Tom. I think you sound like a pretty intelligent individual who maybe you're called DGen Tom. Maybe you came out of like the DeFi space, and that's how you got into NFTs. It's like where a lot of the DGen culture comes from. Maybe you're not like haven't been like interested in art for a really long time or anything like that. But I think that your language and linguistic patterns indicate to me that you're dealing with kind of a confirmation bias here, which is you have a belief which is not based on evidence, right? It's not based on facts or evidence, but you believe it to be true. And so the way that you frame your questions are actually like it's actually rhetoric in order to attempt to generate a response which will confirm your predetermined belief system, rather than actually like forming a hypothesis and asking questions which would attempt to invalidate your predetermined belief system, if that makes sense. I'm just saying, like from a critical thinking approach, like my goal is typically to ask questions which would allow me to invalidate my predetermined belief. So I'm just going to suggest that just like the way that your questions are coming across, and then the way that you're formulating your responses to the answers, it doesn't sound like you're looking for an actual like intellectual discussion, but rather that you're attempting to like rhetorically present questions of like why this might not be okay. And the reality is it might be some of the greatest conceptual art of the 21st century. Like it may like you don't understand, like you may very well be looking at like one of the like a foundational moment in contemporary and internet art culture and history and conceptual art history. Like this shit will be in the history books, bro. Like unequivocally, like this will be written about in art history books, like will be taught in college universities, like taught in liberal arts courses and sociology courses and art history courses, like all over the fucking world. People are going to talk about this shit. And the Bored Apes Yacht Club is going to be the footnote in the story of this piece of art that describes like a culture of that's basically exposing a subculture of like online crypto fascist accelerationist bigots who like hide on the internet and use these like subliminal codes and signals and messages to communicate with one another and find one another. This is like a pretty big expose, bro.
And helping define, I think, what an NFT is one of the main goals of this thing. And the problems that you bring up, Tom, are not, lost on me. And I think that, if someone is confused by it, that might be a good thing, and that might actually inspire them to look into it more and inspire people to tell them or educate them. And the education that's needed is that you can't copy an NFT. I know what you're talking about, that there are scammers involved who have tried to create actual nefarious projects that have looked like another project and then try to sell it as that project. But I think the context of everything matters, and the context of that is the context of that, and the context of this is the context of this, and they're very, very different contexts. And one of those people is hiding and they're scamming and they have no real foundational groundwork in what they're doing. And I'm not hiding. I'm a docs person, and I have a complete, long thesis and foundational grounding that has been developed for the past year based on what I'm doing, and it fits into work that I've been doing for about a year now. So, it's pretty disparate in terms of that comparison. It's just like the context of any, just the context of language matters. Who says the same word changes the meaning of the word. Where a picture is hanging changes the meaning of the picture. These things are pretty significant and important to understand in terms of understanding just what the fuck you're looking at in general in life.
No, I do like what you're doing because of the fact that you're right. It is the smart contract that everybody's buying, right? But it's, I just wanted to ask that because I wasn't trying to be confrontational.
No, that's cool. I think it's a totally good point.
I do appreciate what you're doing because
also,
right?
I think
the smart contract behind it. But
I think $200. I think let's say for example, someone they thought they were getting a Bored Ape for $200, and they minted a Ryder Rips Bored Ape, and they're like, "Oh my god, this wasn't a Bored Ape!" And they like went to the website and they read about it, and for $200 they learned the lesson that like this is how the blockchain works. That would be a really good fucking deal. That would be like a fair exchange of value by any measure. It would be a fair exchange of value.
That's just like the one thing I like don't agree with though. Like,
I mean, but they also would be
I get
like
what you're
making
saying.
people are already
It could be worse, right?
Really, go watch a bunch of YouTube influencers and find out about crypto. Like, you'll lose tens of thousands of dollars before you ever before you ever learn a goddamn thing, dude. So
yeah, of course, that will happen. But I guess if you could justify it with the $200, I suppose.
The point is,
all right, let's go to Galavis.
Yeah. But a bunch of passionate answers. That's basically what's happening here. No one's trying to. It's the conversation continues, but these are the questions, right? And I think this is moving along well. But I hope people are learning. And Galvis, what's your question, man?
Yeah, no, I think it's more than a question. It's like kind of like a reflection, like throwing it out to the space, which is another interesting point about the whole project that Ryder is doing. It's copyright. I mean, under the current newest copyright law, an artist or an author can reclaim ownership after 35 years, meaning, Seneca, who was the original artist of Bored Ape Yacht Club, in 34 years, she can reclaim ownership of all the apes and be like the ultimate, like, troll.
Nah. It's not true. I mean, not that it's not true that, I don't know, that law is whatever, but Seneca was one of 6 commercial artists on the project. I mean, it's a very asinine thing to even consider it art. It'd be like saying one of the people who did After Effects work on the Spider-Man movie could own Spider-Man. Like, it literally is insignificant. And when you get a 1099 or a W-2 from a company, you've contractually relinquished your ability to claim ownership of any IP because you've exchanged your work for money and your work was for hire. And most likely you've signed a contract if it's for anything meaningful, relinquishing your intellectual property rights. And, a lot of these projects, such as Bored Ape Yacht Club, are actually done by large groups of people. And a lot of people who are outsiders to the creative process and commercial creative process don't realize that there's, tens of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people working on the same media together. And, they use Seneca because she's an Asian woman and because I was in contact with her. And they used her and deflected the story to her to have this narrative being conveyed, which you just conveyed, that Seneca is this artist behind Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's just total bullshit. She was one person who was part of a team of many people behind this project. I'll just say that. And it's actually really disgusting and feckless on the part of the founders of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Their obsession with using women as human shields, which they did with Seneca, and then they did with their CEO, which they hired to deflect questions about this kind of issues. And, as 4 men who created a project, hiring and paying off women to speak for you is like some real bitch made pussy shit. And like, I will never fucking respect that shit.
Well, I mean, you can hire women to speak for you, just not only when you're in trouble or like there's someone like when you want to basically like throw them in front of the
right.
line
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Hiring them to speak for you when you're in trouble or deflecting.
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Using a woman as a shield is just it's. I mean, it's such a stupid tactic, because
it's actually, dude. Let's just go with uncouth.
It's uncouth.
I think the best word to describe it is uncouth.
It is uncouth, and it's also conniving because they know that Nicole can get up there in an interview and literally sob and say my CEO was in danger for his life when they released his name. And if a man was to do that, whether it's him himself or just literally a male CEO, it would literally come off as a joke. Like, people would laugh at that person. Imagine a dude saying that. My life was in danger when you released my name. Why? Why was your life in danger, dude? Because my enemies. It's literally that fucking meme of that guy, that Netflix
My
dude,
enemies
like
are at my
who was
gates.
like,
Send me 1 Bitcoin. My enemies.
no, it's literally that.
Send me Ryder ripsapes. Ryder, my enemies are at my gate. Send me Ryder ripsapes.
My
It's the only
enemies.
currency they will accept.
Yeah, dude, it's a joke.
Well, I hope that answered the question. Emily with the flower PFP. You were next, then we'll go Robbie and then Dr. Crack. You there? Still muted. Give you a few more seconds. But yeah, Robbie, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Yeah, so I saw like Paulie on Twitter and everything, like memeing around, but kind of serious about like he had this post was like unfollow every influencer, unfollow every scammer, follow builders, follow memers, follow coders. I don't remember the other one. There was a fourth one, and I found it really inspiring. And I kind of just toyed around with this crypto French Revolution, sorry, of like guillotining metaphorically, like unfollowing all these scammer influencers and everything. And I think like the funks are like the start of a revolution, and it's very clear that like this funk stands for something. But I really see like the RRBAYC as like some catalyst. But so, do you really think the punch is close to landing with people really understanding it, or it's going to be a long ways away before it starts? It's because I see it's going to be in the history book. I believe that for sure, just like Omakase. But I wonder when it's going to make that switch. Because right now it seems it's getting a lot of disrespect and misunderstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like the NFT, the people, like basically the thing is we're really starting from scratch. So all the people who are seen as like the guard of this thing, who are literally random fucking people. I don't know where the fuck they came from. I don't know where NFT Nick is from. I don't know where Farouk is
Bro,
from. I know.
someone please, like, where is NFT?
No, I'm not,
Like,
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like, actually, like, I don't know where these people are from, but like, regardless, people respect them in this space. But like, they are going to have to go, or there's going to have to be new. They don't have to go. They don't have to go at all. What we're going to have to do is bring in our new people. You know, Omakase is a new voice in this space who's providing that. You know what I mean? And so basically we're creating an entirely new culture and movement here, and that doesn't necessarily happen quickly, but what's going to happen is this story is going to reach popular culture in a way that the apes never had, because it's actually an interesting story, and it's not something that you're going to have to pay someone to fucking promote, because it's actually a real story. And I know for a fact that story is going to get out. The timeline, I'm not sure, but it will get out, and it's a very good story, so it's gonna get out there. What's up, Dr. Crack? I like your profile. What's going on?
What's poppin', man? I just want to say that this is really awesome what you have going here. I've been watching from afar, and most conceptual movements are met with criticism. This has been awesome to see the sub society inside of a sub society. It's like it's a subculture and a subculture. We've had these groups of people, like it's been like Omakase I've seen before 10K, and watching him grow and freak out every time a random 1,000 people will follow him. It's like this is sincere, real growth I've witnessed, and it's awesome to be affiliated with you characters, because there's comedic genius at the same time behind this. I find it satirical comedy, as it with most of life. This is like a very Larry David take on things, and it's fuck it mode. Like I've contemplated putting the damn ape, once they release this thing for Twitter, on my. You guys just went you guys went lengths and bounds further, and to already have a previous not even simple post, but a serious write-up about the same project, and to take it to this length, that's like true conceptual art. So I think that's really awesome, and I could say this reminds me of almost a Supreme to Barbara Kruger. Most people didn't get it, and later it is what it is. People noticed what it was. Nobody owns a font. Nobody owns these people want to deflect and place blame and use profiles of people, whether it's race or creed or sex, to deflect, and the story is much bigger, and the reason behind this is much bigger. And most people are, you tinfoil hat, you're looking too far into this, but I don't think so. I just think when you go down the street, you ask 20 people what they're doing, one man will reply that he's thinking for himself and doing what he wants. The rest are just, it's like, nobody wants to ask questions, but I think you've asked enough. And when you dig into the story, it's pretty awesome. So much respect. Cheers, dudes.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. We have Money Sign with the Mutant that's been up here. Do you have a question, or are you just hanging out, or if you're around, there you go.
Can I? Yeah, it was more.
Not quick.
You can hear me or no?
Yeah. Check 1 2.
Yeah,
check,
you're
check.
good.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, okay. You're not saying. Are you saying something real quick?
Oh, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. I'll go after.
Oh, all right. I just kind of wanted to kind of ask a question from an artist standpoint. You said this is for Ryder, yeah. Just so I get like a better understanding. You said earlier that you are a digital artist yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to, did you want to incorporate that at all? Because I feel like a part of you would want to at least put your spin on the apes, or even if it was a satirical piece that you would, I don't know, not essentially do a derivative, but at least do something other than a copy paste of a project. Not even to go down the whole wormhole. You clearly have done the write up. I've read the write up. You have your feelings on the project itself, but I feel like if I hated the project that much and wanted to expose them, I'd at least like change it or put a twist to it, because the artwork's the exact same. Comparing this to a Supreme to Barbara Kruger isn't really what they did. Like, they put their twist on it.
They did not. They did the exact.
It's the same
They
font.
did the exact same things, bro. They literally used the exact. It's literally the exact same as Barbara.
All right.
All right, guys.
Getting a little excited, but I want everyone to speak their mind. But let's do it. But yeah, if you want to field that question, it's up to you. But
I can answer it.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
can answer it. So, when I was 6 years old, my dad took me to Piero della Francesco in Florence, which is an extremely beautiful chapel. I was exposed to non-June Pike when I was 3 years old. I started drawing in a serious way when I was 8 years old. I started using Photoshop when I was 9 years old, and using 3D software around the same time, 9 years old. I started coding around that time. I had worked I made Burberry's website when I was 18 years old. I made Wyclef Jean's logo when I was 19 years old. I was involved in one of the biggest archives of internet art when I was 16 years old, called Computer Fine Arts. My father was an artist, exposed me to tons of art. My parents have their portraits by Warhol. I had been creating street art when I was 16 years old. I got arrested for graffiti when I was 15 years old. I am proficient in spray paint and proficient in airbrush. I am proficient in HTML. I am proficient in Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign. I have designed some of the biggest brands from scratch, such as Soylent, created their logo. They're $1 billion company. You could go into any Walmart and 7-Eleven and get that. I did the stage design for Pusha T at Coachella. I have most recently worked on creative direction for Tame Impala's tour, doing visuals, posters, merch design. I have created large-scale sculptures that have spanned multiple rooms in New York City, engaged with video art. I've created music videos that employ volumetric motion capture, which no one has used yet. I have created music videos that are extremely challenging with body motion capture, and I've done all sorts of 3D work and everything you can imagine in terms of using Houdini, what have you. I've worked. My work has directly influenced Virgil Abloh and has basically been the foundation of streetwear for the next 5 years or something, through different things that I've worked with him on, and was extremely influential within the art scene. I had created aesthetics that set forth basically the next 10 years of graphic design, with work that I was doing in 2010 on Dump FM, with work that I was doing with MIA. I invented face filters with MIA in 2010, created the first facial detection face filter for something, an MIA project. The list goes on and on and on of things that I've created. There's I could keep going like this for on and on and on and on. So when you approach me and you ask me, well, why do you just copy and paste? Maybe think to yourself, there's an actual reason for this. Maybe it actually has to do with that I'm so tired of aesthetic, and that I'm so beyond that I don't actually think that matters much in terms of the point of art. And the point of art is to have something to say, to impact society, to bring people together. And I don't necessarily have to do that through putting pen to paper. And I am proving that this isn't something I think, this is something that I'm proving in this project, because I have not put pen to paper. I have reminted, I've used the blockchain, and I am employing ideas and concepts that are affecting people in ways that they agree with me, or like yourself, they disagree with me, but they are creating provocation and they are eliciting a response, and that's the point of art. And so, for me, it's not so much is something hard or not hard. And I think it's really important for anyone who's looking at art to distance yourself from that thought of, is this difficult or not difficult? Because that has nothing to do with something being good. So, because if it was that easy to make something good, well, just fucking spend 10 years, lock yourself in 10 years and make one song. And, let's see if it's the greatest song ever made. Or, plenty of Jay-Z famously goes into the booth and has nothing written down. Does that mean that Jay-Z is a bad artist because he hasn't written down one word and he just does it off the top of his head and he's able to just create a song like that? And does that mean, we shouldn't pay Jay-Z, he doesn't deserve any money because, he just made that in 1 minute? And there's plenty of artists that also create work like that. And there's plenty of artists. I didn't invent the genre of appropriation art, just so you know.
Bro, Ryder, is my PFP art or no?
The anti-psyop club?
Yeah.
I like it.
I think,
But,
yeah,
but
I think
you
that's art.
see, even with yours, the anti-psyop club is your version of the anti-social social club. Like, that's your play on that, and it doesn't say social. So
it doesn't matter.
So
I can
I
make it say social.
and in no way, but for just not even to cut you off, like even what you said, Ryder, like did not come here agreeing, disagreeing.
So
just as an artist,
yeah. I'm
myself, right? Like, some people go and they draw just a simple circle on a canvas, and that's their art. Other people spend months doing surrealism, and it looks like Dali.
So
And
I'm going to
that's
ask you a question.
and
Let me just ask you something. How many Bored Ape Yacht Club derivatives are there, do you think?
I mean, probably over 500.
So, and then how many people have done what I do?
I mean, there is other. I mean, I don't know to the extent of
Right.
getting a whole website, but
that's my
people
point.
mint
So
screenshots.
what I've done is more original. So what you're asking me to do is to water my work down and be less original and make less of an impact than I've made. And the reason that you're saying this comment is because it's actually making an impact, and you're asking me to not make.
Well, no, it's just in the sense of even, and I see, I don't know the copyright laws that whoever the previous person asking the question, I don't know the laws or anything on the copyright, but I just know just from experience of drawing a 10K piece project by myself in my studio. Even if they had a team of 30 people drawing these apes at some point, and take away that whole article, take away them someone hand drew that gold ape and that spacesuit and that hat. A computer didn't do that. Someone drew that from years of experience. So I can, just from the work and the art aspect, it just seems, I guess, lazy. Like, I get what you're going for, but as an artist, and all of those swords that you just listed, which I'll give credit where credit is due, you've done amazing accolades, especially in your career. I would think you would want to at least do a slight spin. I
just
don't get.
I don't think it would
how's
be
it going to be in the
effective.
history books of doing the exact, like,
Because
you didn't change it at all.
Well, that's my thing, is that I am changing it because you can't copy an NFT is the idea. And this whole space exists because we're supposedly interested in NFTs. And so part of this thing, yeah. Go ahead.
But even earlier when you said, you know how because like right now, like I have never looked at what you look like. So right now, like I'm looking at the ape, right? And I get what you're going for, but I look at it and I'm like, okay, that's a bored ape. I understand what room I'm in. I understand it's not a bored ape. It's a RR bored ape. But like I'm looking at the profile picture. So in a sense, it is art. But you're saying that it's not the art, it's the token.
Yeah, in the context of it, it's
it's cryptocurrency.
if you find a hammer in the Goodwill and you take it to a gallery and you put it on a floor, it's changed its meaning.
Did Barbara Kruger make Futura and the color red?
No.
Thank you.
But did she write Supreme, put it on a white T-shirt, and skateboard and videos?
It doesn't matter what it's on. The color scheme she doesn't own, and that's the point of taking it to court.
Yeah, but he just said the hammer thing, so I'm just saying it's out of a different
what you
context.
just said,
Supreme did
literally what you just said. I could say, well, did Bored Ape Yacht Club remint their own images and make a whole website about like the Nazi subtext of their project? Like what you just said is a really good point. Like, did Barbara Kruger make skate videos? No, it's a new context and it's a new spin on it.
Yeah, so I'd like to chime in if I may, because I was initially a skeptic of the RRBAYC project as well. And I think really to kind of address the effort aspect that people seem to be questioning, pretty soon AI, if you look at DALL-E 2 and things like this, right? Like when it comes to effort, the amount of effort you're actually going to need to put in to create beautiful works is going to be lowered significantly. And so there's going to be a lot more creativity. And obviously, this is going to also lead to a lot of derivatives and things like that, right? So, and it also kind of forces you to ask yourself, like, what is art, right? The whole point of art is to convey a message. And whatever you use to convey that message is merely a medium, right? And so whatever that medium, whatever is the most appropriate is what is going to be used. If that just, in this case, it just so happens to be that using the exact same collection to make this statement and to convey this message to the audience is just the most fitting. And not only that, but it also allows you to have the most, I guess, spread in the space because of the nature of it, right? So it's kind of clever. And again, it all brings into question, like, why do we give these like holders of these collections any credibility, because some of them, if not many of them, just got lucky. I mean, and most NFT trading is just that, a lot of gambling. You're basically just betting on where's there going to be the most volume, and who can I sell to, right? That's the whole name of the game. So, you know, I think really what this is doing is it's, and not only that, but the whole process of minting the RRBAYCs, right? Like them being hand minted, is much like, you know, if you were a patron of an artist, you would pay them and then they would produce something for you, perhaps, right? So I think all of these mechanics and the framing of everything, within context, understanding first and foremost, I think, what the message is, and then working backward from there, I think is the best way to kind of look at our RBAYC and to be able to appreciate what is actually trying to be said here. So those are my 2 cents.
I think that's well said.
Very well said. And I don't want to run in circles with that, but that question I hope was answered. But want to move over to PE Shar. I don't know what the rest is there. PE.
Hey, yeah, just P
Yep.
is fine. Hi,
P.
everyone. So, hi. Yeah, this whole discussion about the idea of the copy somehow being low effort really sets the stakes very low for any of this entire discussion about what art might be and the experience of art. The very fact that we're having continuous ongoing discourse is the most important part of this project. Not what it looks like, not where it came from. It's the discussion of conceptual art as such. And if you don't know your history in, you know, the relationship of conceptual art and its roots in things like Saul Lewitt giving directions for a drawing that could be put up on a wall by any people, he actually gave those away initially. You know, the market set a value on it. So, you know, you need to do some research about what conceptual art is, especially since Ryder has made it very clear that this is a conceptual body of work. You know, if the artist has told you what it is, you can go and look up what that might mean, because this notion of the copy is an entirely different discussion. Let's just go to the most basic premise of the idea of the copy as a work of art and the notion of a JPEG as something that is never the same. Every time you open and close a JPEG, the interpolation shifts it. So we're going to take it back to that basic discussion. And I know I've said this in rooms here on Twitter before with Ryder. You know, it's not the JPEG that is the asset here. The digital asset is the token upon which that JPEG has been placed. And I hope that adds something to the discussion tonight.
I think it really does. Really well said. And I think the question too, like you alluded to, the conversation, like we're standing around this art piece, discussing it for this long, learning about each other and learning about what this world is, learning about Web3, learning about Ryder. And to me, that's effective art. And I think Tomos can agree. We're going down a very great rabbit hole, and I think this conversation can go so many ways. So that was a great question. Money sign. I don't got your name up here, but great question. OX Rex has been up for a bit. Do you have a question?
Let's move on to Jeff.
No, yeah, not so much of a question. Just, you know, just adding to what the point is. It's almost like it's like yeah, I understand that the front facing nature of like the picture, you know, gives off a vibe, and like people associate like culture and actions and market behaviors with it. But like you guys really do need to understand, it's like this is cryptocurrency, right? And it's very much based on the cryptography, if you guys have heard Ryder mention that before. You know, it's very much about the code, and you can, you know, kind of look at the art as like a sticker. You know, it's what draws you in, to make it digestible, really. You know, it's like it's stocks, but you have something to kind of appreciate. So I wouldn't focus so hard on, you know, the original quote unquote BAYC being, you know, some form of art, because like they mentioned this before earlier, it's like they don't really stand for much, right? Like I understand if what you were saying, you're talking about, well, you know, you didn't even remix it, or like a little bit, well, you know, well, it's not even an account that you can go to where it's like, okay, yeah, this is the person who drew Bored Apes. Like, yeah, I'm the artist. This is my project. So it's very much a bigger picture than that, and it's very more complex, which is why the statement of Ryder's project resonates with more than just me.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Great way to put it, the cryptography. But Jeff, you had your hand up. What's your question, man?
Yeah, man. So just on what a table, like support for what Rips is doing. It's hilarious that people are focusing on the JPEG as the value. Like I did the NFT Bay and like ripped off all the JPEGs. Everyone's like, hardy, ha, ha, ha. The JPEGs have no value. It's the token that has value, right? So here's Ryder coming along now. He's like taking BAYC, which is racist as fuck, and reminting it and basically using its own project to destroy the value of the original project. And there's an artistic statement because I'm a big critic of crypto, and like there is nothing stopping someone from having to distribute royalty. So like we've got this thing which is making multiple statements, like reinstating the value of a token, right? The token you can't duplicate, actually providing utility to the token, and also using something that's really fucking bad itself to destroy the really fucking bad thing and demonstrating utility and opening a marketplace. Is fucking artistic genius. It's nothing to do with JPEG. I did the JPEG. This is all about utility and the token, and I think it's fucking excellent. Thanks, bro. Your mic sounds weird, by the way. I don't know what you're using, but
he's flying through tunnels.
Sorry, man, I'm driving. Oh, okay, I got it. Cool.
Awesome.
Let's wrap this up in the next let's do 15 more minutes or something.
That sounds good. Yeah. I want to go, or you pick anyone.
How about Quinn, the cat?
I'd love to speak, but I think that there was someone else that had their hand up before me, to be just
I don't
fair.
care. I don't care.
Okay. All right. Then I will definitely speak. I had a statement and then I have a question. First, my statement is that my dad was in the Navy in World War II, spent about 20 years in, another 10 in the reserve. And I was born afterwards. So I bought a few of the Ryder Rips Bored Apes, mainly because I have a 14-year-old son that, I really wanted him to know that there's someone out there that speaks up for when they see something wrong, that they speak up and they're courageous. And I found that in your work. And that's pretty much why I bought a few.
That's really sweet. What was the Navy part? How did that relate with your father?
In what terms? One of the apes does have a naval suit on it.
I see.
It's not the one that I have.
I see.
Right here. So my husband and I have 5 children, and we talk to them all the time about critical thinking and doing the right thing and standing up. And so you really resonated with me. So when I look at the Bored Apes, they do not reflect my values, but the Ryder Rips do. And you've put value on it. Also, I really don't know your history with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So that was my question. Like, how much were you involved with them? I know that you saw what they were doing and then you stood up, but just kind of curious on how far back you worked with them.
I never worked with them, but I do have connections to their PR person, or I don't know what you'd call him, the head of marketing, Guy Osiri, just through the music industry. And I did have an early call with him before I kind of went full Monty research mode, obsessive, talking about the Bored Ape Yacht Club every day. I had a call with him in the infancy of this journey, and that call actually kind of irked me and was one of the things that I think made me continue this thing, because he was just yelling at me for 2 hours straight, pretty much. telling me why I'm an idiot and how I should shut up and it's in my best interest, and giving me vague threats and all this shit. And I just wasn't going to stand for that. As an adult who's old enough to know, you don't let other people talk down to you like that, especially someone who is not a native to your culture. And he's not a native to my culture. My culture is internet art culture. His culture is Hollywood, and I think it's pretty clear, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I don't let someone talk down to me like that. And I also just got the feeling that there's a bunch of shady stuff that he was hiding, just based on his need to be so aggressive and threaten me and all this shit. But no, I have no real connection to the Bored Ape Yacht Club in any work capacity beyond that. I did have a conversation with Seneca early on about her involvement, and besides that, I've had no direct conversations with any Bored Ape Yacht Club members or founders or anything. I would love to have a conversation with Greg Solano or Wiley Arano. But they would never do that because they would be way too exposed. But yeah, so no, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, it's not that I was involved in their project and I was sort of rogue. I don't know if that's the way it sounded like maybe you thought that or something, but no, that was never the case. It was more of just I kind of started pulling at the hem string and the whole pants leg unraveled.
Thank you for answering that. We need more people to stop putting their heads in the sand like ostriches and speak up on topics that they feel are, I don't know, ruining society. I
totally
people
agree.
need to speak up. They're just, I don't know, they just don't want to create a rift, I guess, or have anyone point the finger at them. They're just too many people are afraid.
They are
Fear is
afraid.
ridiculous. 99% of the time, there's no need to fear a thing. And if one thing does happen, well, then you have to deal with it. So please, people, be fearless.
Yes, I agree with that.
Completely. Like, if you know something bullshit, you have a right. You need to step up and say it's fucking bullshit because, like, other people may not have the knowledge you have. So you actually you need to stand up. Like, if you weren't from a design background and didn't know some of the symbolism going on in the BAYC thing, other people would have overlooked it, right? But if you're a designer, you see that shit, you step up, you speak to it, and you speak to what you know.
Yeah, and that's why I have done this, is because this is my domain, really. Like, I've been doing computer art and being immersed in computer culture since I was a very little kid at a very formable age. And it's something that's emotional to me, So people say, well, there's a lot of issues in the world. There are people who are getting killed every day, and there's a war, and there's you can nitpick and go down this rabbit hole of well, this issue isn't as important as this other issue, but that might be true. But this is something that I am personally passionate about because I have lived it and I have the life experience to know what the fuck I'm talking about with this thing, and to not accept someone gaslighting me, telling me I'm seeing something that I know for a fact I'm not, that I'm not seeing, or that rather the opposite, that I'm not seeing something that I am seeing. That's what I meant to say. But so I don't know. I think people have people have been told by society to shut up and to listen and to follow and to not go on explorations, and through explorations you can find your purpose and find what you're passionate about. And I do believe that, especially as a creative, it's important to have the affordance to follow your passion. And I am lucky enough where I have basically been able to, spend 6 months doing this, which is just insane. I mean, I think it's a testament to, how I've had a great career where I can do that. I'm still doing stuff.
they were basically counting on there not being anyone with enough money who gave enough of a fuck
Exactly.
to like break it out. Like it was so like it was buried under so many layers of like subliminal messaging and sublimation and subtext. But they're like, well, like they're like anyone who actually knows how to figure this out and who can understand it, well, they're gonna agree with us. So no one will ever figure it
No,
out.
literally, it's that.
Yeah, that's literally what it is, bro. It's like that's Chan troll shit, dude. Like, oh well, anyone who can actually figure out this language we're speaking, like they'll just agree with us anyway, and they'll never,
right?
They'll never let
and if they don't, they'll never have the capacity to speak up. And like, so that's why,
right?
I think I'm like probably the only person who actually has like real life connections and like knows how things work in the world and has like real experience in a lot of facets of media production and also understands internet culture and like who would actually be able to speak on this.
It was a perfect storm, dude. Like they had no idea. Like it's literally the Ryder rips factor, bro. Like you are like the one variable that they did not account for when they were planning this entire thing out. They're like, because even dude Fedor Linux brought it up and had done, like, I know a bunch of people who were doing the research early on, but no one had the voice and an understanding of like internet culture and trolling and memeing in order to like actually get the message out.
Yeah, and I mean it's still getting out. It's still getting out, but it's working. But Quinn, thank you so much for those words and the sincerity there, and for being such a good mother. It's very important and extremely noble.
Awesome. Want to respect your time. Do you want to take any more questions, or how are you feeling?
We can do one more, I guess. Let's do someone new though.
All right.
Guy, I think, didn't you mint some of the earliest ones?
No. This is Riley. I didn't mint any. I don't mint shit that I like because then people call me like a bag protecting loser.
Okay.
So I like talking about shit that I like from like an observer's perspective, and people can't.
All right. Well, we've heard from you a lot, and I know you too well. We talk all the time, so
I don't know if
let's hear from someone else.
I can talk, but I'm not really a new speaker either. But I can talk real fast.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking, let's hear from Brando.
Go for it,
because I don't know who they are.
Go for it.
Yeah, Ryder. I was just saying, yeah, honestly, OG. And at the end of the day, like, you've honestly, like, just like shown how like we can't let these fucking douchebags that like decided to make this project just walk all over people like they thought they could.
For sure.
And like,
Sure. And we have to take back this whole Web3 shit. Like, we really have to, because it really can be something cool. Like, it's not about this project. It's about the whole future of Web3 and like VCs and just understanding like how to detether from, this like corporate bullshit, and like to actually respect artists and to, have the desire and aspiration for meaning, and realize that there is extreme value in meaning and culture and passion and all that shit, and that hot topic t-shirts are really garbage, and we shouldn't be valuing them over the real work of an artist.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to make. And so, yeah, just want to respect everyone's time, and so just close it out there.
Okay,
it's about 10:40. Think we? Oh, unless there was someone who had a question.
Well, Lily, do you want to say something before?
Hey, Ryder, thanks. I'll just maybe one really quick thing. I just wanted to say to a lot of people also listening, and probably a couple weeks ago, I was in a space here and proposed something kind of to Ryder, and he said you should do it, and we've kind of now done it, and it'll probably kind of excite and confuse more people who kind of are beginning to learn more about all of this in a good way. Ryder, I guess check your kind of things we'd love to hear.
I DM'd you back.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah. Check. Let's continue that conversation.
But I won't even say a lot, but I just want to say that there's so much more to, I think, the RRBAYC collection that you started. I feel like there's some other waves kind of developing, not just because of this mutant kind of sister collection, which I think will be fun, but it really will hopefully raise a ton of money for good, which is something that I know I initially was a little bit critical of Ryder on. And he kind of instantly was so open and excited in a way about launching as much charitable stuff as we kind of can through any of this stuff that he's working on. So I'll just say kind of thank you, and Ryder, I'll check the message and we can go from there.
For sure. I good job on that. It's impressive work. But yeah, let's figure it out soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Alrighty, cool. Thank you everyone who came up to speak. Thank you, Ryder, for taking the time, as well as Master Chef from Omakase. And again, everyone else. So if that's that, we're going to go ahead and close the space out. Appreciate all of you. Be sure to check out the podcast. It's pinned at the top. There was a lot of good stuff discussed there, and I'm sure we'll have one of these again pretty soon. So when that time comes, if you have more questions, then you'll be able to ask them. But Ryder, did you have any other final thoughts that you wanted to leave the audience with?
No, just thank you so much for hosting this space and having me on your podcast. And it's been a blast. And thank you everyone who is present and engaged and asking such great questions and thinking about these things and provoking and sticking your neck out there and believing in something. And that's what matters right now most.
Yeah. No, conversation is key. And that's what we did here. And Ryder, again, thank you for jumping on, sharing your work with us, with the world, and having this thought-provoking conversation. If it wasn't for you doing this piece, we wouldn't be here discussing this. So for anyone that is still questioning, what is this? Why is this credible? Take a listen to the podcast. Ryder really goes into his full history. He really explains it, and it really answers a lot of those questions that may have not been addressed in this conversation. But also follow this man. Check out his work. Check out his portfolio. He's doing amazing things. And if you're interested in these types of conversations, give 0x Alpha a follow. This is what we're doing. We like to bring the conversation to the people and interact. We do a podcast every week, and then we interact with them and allow people to, come up and ask questions that podcast provoked. So if you're into that type of thing, check us out. But Ryder, you're an absolute legend, man. I'm so glad that I had met you and you gave the time, to an account that's real small, right? Like, you're really about this shit. You're passionate, and it wasn't about numbers. You were just down to have a good conversation.
Yep,
you guys. So just remember, art is not always about what you can see, but more importantly about what it makes you think and feel. So, I mean, that's the whole point of conceptual art, right? So with that being said, everyone have a good night. It was a pleasure.
Good night, everyone.
Okay.
All right, night.
Welcome to Future Fun, where our mission is to educate and elevate Web 3.0. Prepare for exploration in 3, 2, 1.